Hello and welcome to the very first video that I'm recording for the 23-24 school year. My name is Miss Taylor and this is our intro video for Algebra 2. This video is specifically for students that are absent or miss the first class period of the year so that you have an idea of what went on. But having video recordings is something that you can expect from me in Algebra 2 throughout the year. So whether you're absent from class or whether you're in class and you just need to hear or see a problem or see that material presented again, you can always access these videos. So as I said, I am Ms. Taylor and this is our first video for Algebra 2. So I have up here, I have my email address, so that's important to know. It's also in your syllabus and will be in one of the first activities that you do for me for the year. It's taylor@duvalschools.org. And this next part is just a little about me. So I am not from Jacksonville. I am from Brockton, Massachusetts. And you can probably see on the screen there, we have a little map of Massachusetts that's up in the northeast. This is the city of Boston in yellow there, and my hometown is this other little blob of yellow that you see there. It's a city just about 30 or 40 minutes south of Boston. So things you might have heard about Boston. We had a tea party there. There were some witch trials up here in Salem, and the Pilgrims landed down in this area in Plymouth. For my educational background, I have a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering, and I have an MAT in Mathematics, so from Texas Christian. I have taught in DCPS since 2007, and I've been at Atlantic Coast since 2011, which was the second year that the school was open. So I have been here almost as long as everybody and more than most of the teachers at the school. So I've been here for quite a while. In my free time, so I do enjoy math and I do enjoy teaching. I like my job and I'm looking forward to a new school year, but it's not all I do. So I am an avid runner. I coach Marathon High, which is a club sport here at Atlantic Coast. If you've never heard of it, we'd love to have you come out. So club sport just means that we're not competitive. We're classified as a club. And we do train for a half marathon. I train with a group here in Jax called Jax Galloway. I'm active in my church. I enjoy traveling with friends. Specifically, we do like a lot of hiking trips. So I do like to be outside. I like to run, walk, hike, kayak, that sort of thing. And this summer, I decided to try drawing. So I've never really thought of myself as being artistic and being able to draw. And I wanted to try something new during the summer, something that I wasn't necessarily really good at or comfortable doing. So if you're into art and into drawing, maybe we can touch base. You can give me some pointers on that. Fun fact about me, I was voted most random in my college graduating class, and it will take about 2 or 3 class periods for you to realize that I am a pretty random person. I have a story for everything. So that's a little bit about who I am in the school and also outside of school. So what is Algebra 2? What is this class that you are enrolled in? Algebra 2 is a continuation of Algebra 1 with emphasis on families of functions. So if I had to summarize how the year goes, I would say we're going to talk about families of functions. So we'll start by talking about lines, and then we'll talk about quadratics, and then we'll move on and talk about polynomials and radical functions and exponentials and so forth. The course is structured around each family as we learn how to solve equations, graph functions, and apply the concepts. Algebra 2 is typically the minimum level of math required for college programs, and it overlaps the content of intermediate algebra and college algebra. So if you're looking at like a college course catalog and you're wondering, okay, how does what I'm doing in high school match up with what I might do in college? This course would kind of bridge intermediate algebra and college algebra in terms of what we cover. It prepares students for higher level math and hones the thinking and reasoning skills needed in a variety of different fields. So do most people go on into a math field? No, most people don't. A lot of people do, but not a majority. But everybody needs reasoning ability in whatever they end up doing. So who should be taking Algebra 2? Anyone planning to go to college regardless of your major. So if you are planning to go to college at all, even if you're like, I'm going to study Eastern European history in college, great, awesome. They're probably going to require you to have a math requirement, and that math requirement is going to be met through a high school level Algebra 2 kind of course. And I would say anyone who's unsure about what you're going to do after high school. So maybe you're not thinking about college, you're thinking about the military, you're thinking about going straight into a job, you're thinking about a trade school. If you've got all those options still out there on the table, you should take Algebra 2 so that you're not closing off one of those options. And those other options are all great things. So I'm not trying to guilt you or anything, but you don't want to close the door. Now, who should not take Algebra 2? Anyone who has not passed Algebra 1 or an equivalent class. So if you're coming from a different state, district, particularly if you're coming from out of the country, it might be an equivalent course. But before you do Algebra 2, you really need to have Algebra 1. Okay, otherwise it's not great. And then anyone with learning gaps sufficient to hinder your progress in this course. So if you think that might be you, so if you've got some math background that you're just not sure whether you have all the background knowledge that you would need to be successful in this course, just please contact me. I want everyone to be successful in this course. Okay, there's not anybody that I'm out to get in any way. I want everybody to take this course. I want you to stay in this course. I want you to love this class. I want this to be like the math class that you remember as being awesome. But if you are genuinely in the wrong course, then we need to address that, because in order for you to be successful and in order for you to feel confident and have a great experience in math this year, you need to be in the right math class. So if you're a little concerned that that's you, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. We can talk about what your background is. Okay, so otherwise, you should be good to go. So in the opening day PowerPoint, it just says the syllabus and just says, please take time to review the syllabus between today and the next class. So we're really not going to spend a lot of time in class going over the syllabus. First couple of days of school, everybody goes over their syllabi, and it is just a massive amount of information. So what I've decided to do this year is just hit the main things that we really need to look at like on day one. And then what we'll do is we'll review the details of the syllabus over the next few class periods. If you are absent and I haven't seen you yet, there is a copy of the syllabus. It should be available in Teams so that you can go and take a look at it, and then I'll have a hard copy for you when I see you in class. Things that we need to get out of the way on the syllabus, though, is your supply list. What do you need? So for this class, you need a notebook, and it needs to be dedicated to Algebra 2. So please don't put Algebra 2 notes in the same notebook with your Spanish notes and your history notes and so forth. And part of that is because some of your classes are going to take a lot of notes. Some of your classes aren't going to take that many notes, and you don't want to fill up like the history section and then still have a bunch of math left, because now what do you do? So you want to have a notebook dedicated to Algebra 2, and you need a method for adding pages to that, because I will give out like activity handouts, copies of notes, study guides, that sort of thing that should be put into your notebook. How you want to do that is completely up to you. So if you would like to use a 3-ring binder where you can whole bunch stuff and insert it into your notebook, that's great. If you want to use a regular spiral notebook and you just want to staple handouts into the appropriate pages, that's awesome. If you want to use a composition book, I'm not picky about what kind of notebook you have, as long as it works for you and it's dedicated to Algebra 2. You do need a calculator. Now, phones are not permitted to be used as calculators. So the primary calculator that you use cannot be your phone. In the testing platform for Algebra 2, the calculator that's available to use is what's called Desmos, and that is a web-based calculator. Because you are allowed to use your laptops in class, okay, you can pull up the Desmos calculator on your laptop. In fact, I'd like you to do that because I want you to practice on the kind of calculator that you'll be using to take your final exam. Now, there's a great app for your phone, a Desmos app, but you will not be able to use the app from your phone in class, but you're welcome to use it at home, okay? You don't have to go out and buy an expensive calculator. However, just kind of noting that some of your standardized tests, I know they're kind of moving SAT stuff around and they're incorporating different requirements as we go, but you might want a handheld calculator for that, okay? You need something to write with. Pencils or pens are fine. The only thing I would ask in terms of color is that you do not do your work in red pen. Red pen is kind of the universal color for grading. And so if you do yours in red pen, if I'm looking at your work, I have to like change my pen color just to make sure that I'm using a different color than you. Okay. So pens and pencils. And then you do need your school issued laptop fully charged every day. Okay, so that has to be something that you remember to do. Most of your classes, some of your classes are going to be using those laptops. And because of that online calculator, you can absolutely expect to be using your laptop in this class. A little bit about the structure of a class. So like many upper level math classes, this course will have a general structure that you can rely on for most, but not all class periods. So I reserve the right to change stuff up and decide to do something different on any given day. But most math classes kind of have a rhythm to them so that you know what is expected from one class to the next. So any homework will be placed in the turn-in bin at the start of class. So this was something I did several years ago pre-COVID, and then during COVID, of course, we were doing school very differently, and I kind of got away from that, and we're going to go back to it. So there will be a bin in class, and the first thing you're going to do when there is homework is you're going to put your homework into that bin. Okay, that's the kind of thing that happens even before the tardy bell rings. So grab that homework, put it in the turn-in bin. It's going to be this year right up front where I and other classmates can kind of see it. It's not going to be off to the side anywhere. While homework is graded, you will complete a warm-up in your notebook. So your notebook should have a dedicated section for warm-ups, and there will be some kind of warm-up on the screen, and it's expected that that's what you're going to be doing while I am grading your homework. Homework will pretty much be graded on a completion or effort because I am going to grade it before we go over it. But I do want to see that attempt, and we can get more into that as we move towards the content-based homework. The homework questions and the warm-up will then be reviewed. And what I've done in the past is when you're turning in that homework, you're going to write down the problems you'd like to go over, the problems you had questions on. We'll take some class time to address what those questions are, and then we'll go over the warm-up. And then that'll be followed with a presentation of new material via lecture, activity, and or practice, or some combination. So maybe we'll do group activities, maybe we'll do something discovery. Math tends to lend itself towards lecture, especially at the higher levels, which just means that I would begin by, we'll talk about the vocabulary, the symbols, we'll do an example problem, then you'll do some practice problems, then we'll like apply them together. And we might do that individually, we might do it as a class, we might do it as groups. Okay, review days and test days, of course, are going to be different because you might not have homework due on those days and so forth. Now, I also want to take a moment and address the cell phone policy. So you've probably caught wind of it. If you haven't, probably means you haven't been at orientation or checked any of the school social media pages, but the state of Florida has adopted a law and we have to enforce it. So school cell phone policy. Cell phones are prohibited within classrooms. If there is an activity that will require the use of your phone, I will give explicit instructions and probably even have explicit permission to even be able to do that activity in the first place. So I'll give you explicit directions about the procedures, but that's going to be the exception, not the norm. Okay. Otherwise, they must be out of sight at all times. That means not on your lap, not under your legs. Now, I'm not going to be like looking, but if you've got it on your lap, you're probably going to pick it up at some point and do something with it, even if it's under the desk. And that I can see most places in the room. Okay. If you're doing that. Any phone that is visible is subject to confiscation after the first warning. And I will give you that first warning at the beginning of every class. It's going to be a general classroom warning. Here is your reminder that your phones must be completely out of sight. Following that, if you have your phone out, we're going to go through a procedure where you're going to put your phone in a bag for me. We're going to record that your phone was out. I'm going to contact home. And then we're going to have security come and take your phone. And then you can deal with that at the end of the school day when security comes and gets it. Okay. I don't want to have to do this because managing that is a disruption to class, and I want to teach. I want to move on with the lesson, the material, but I will do it because it is the policy and it has to be enforced. Okay. If you don't like it, please don't take that out on me. You can pitch your, viewpoints and everything to the school board. Okay. Copies of all PowerPoints. So anything that I project on the screen are going to be available in the online notebook. So there's no need for you to snap photos of any of the notes, because I'm going to post the PowerPoints and I'm going to post a video just like this one. So if there's anything that you miss or that you need to see, you're going to be able to pull that up on your own. So there is no reason why you need to stop in the middle of class and take a picture of anything that is on my board. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that I covered those things. So what is next? You will often be working in teams in this class. This is something I want to incorporate more of. It's always kind of frustrating to get to April or May and realize that the students sitting on one side of my room don't even know the students sitting on the other side of the room. So I want to shuffle up the groups. I want you guys working together. Collaboration and ability to communicate and work with other people is a life skill. It's something that a lot of employers want their employees to be able to do. So if you're like, well, I don't even like school, I'm going to go straight to work. Well, you're probably going to work as part of a team somehow. So our first activity of the year will take you through 3 group activities with some reflection questions. If you are absent, you will not need to make this up, but you might want to know what the activity was. So if I start to refer to it in the next class, you're not going to be thinking like, what is this? Now, you should be able or could still complete the handout for today's activity, which I haven't done it at the time I'm recording this, but I will do it. I'll post it on our team so that you can go and find what that is, or I can give you a hard copy when I see you in class. And that you should be able to do. So there is an assignment that goes with this activity that you can do even if you don't do the activity itself, okay? And that you should do. So the first of the group activities is going to be to build the best tower. So using the materials provided, which I don't have out yet because I actually don't even see my algebra classes on the first day of school. I see all of a different content area. So using the materials provided, work with your team to build the best tower that you can. Basically build a structure. Be creative, make more than one attempt. And then there's some questions. Okay, now I didn't actually copy paste the questions for all the activities because that was too many slides, but questions that you'll be asked to answer. How many different ideas did you try while building your tower? How did a failed idea move your group forwards? If you tried something and it all fell down, what did you learn from that failure as you began to move forward? Take a moment to look around at what some nearby groups did. Did you all have the same idea of what best meant? So think for a second that, like, I'm not defining what best is. So what even makes the best tower in the first place? Is it like the tallest tower? Is it the most stable tower? Is it the best looking? Like, does it have a good aesthetic to it? And then, I guess I kind of answered question 4. What are some different ways people might consider a tower to be the best? And I want you to keep in mind, like, the point of that particular task is to think about, like, what does it mean to be like a good student? Does a good student, is that just about your grades? Or because certainly it can be, but does being a good student mean other things as well that we should incorporate into that definition? Also, I want you to take away from this the idea of a failed idea. So you can, none of us are going to be successful at our first attempt at everything that we do in life. We are going to fail. How does failure push us forward? And when we're unwilling to take that risk and unwilling to fail at something, how does that hold you back? If you're trying to build like the best tower and you're so afraid of failing at it that you don't build anything, it doesn't get you anywhere. So think about that when you're thinking about working in a group and you're thinking about doing your math work. What does it mean to be like a good student? And what is the value of failure as part of our learning process. The second task is about finding patterns. So you're going to look at these. So these are what the two problems are that you're going to be working with your group. It says consider the patterns shown below and determine how many squares will be in the 10th figure. So you've got the first three. Do them in order and time how long it takes your group to figure it out. So with your group, you would write down the start time, and then you've got like the first figure, there's just like a box there. The second figure has 3 boxes and they're arranged a certain way. Third figure has 6 boxes and they are arranged a certain way. So what would be the fourth figure, fifth figure, so forth. And what you're doing is you're looking for the pattern to be able to predict how many boxes that 10th figure is going to have, and then write down how long it took you. How long did it take you to arrive at that? And then move on to problem 2. And you're going to do the same thing. So you have the first figure has 1 box, the second figure there has 4, the third figure has, I don't know off the top of my head, but I could count them. And the idea on this one, I didn't write down the reflection questions for this, but the idea behind this one is, one, it's pattern recognition. So a lot of what math is recognizing that there are patterns, but it's the idea of the experience. Okay, so are you able to do the second problem faster than you did the first one? Are you able to use ideas from the first problem to propel you into the second problem? And that should drive home the idea of practice, that in math, sometimes we just have to practice a basic skill. Just have to do it. It will build our confidence. It'll build our speed at being able to do those problems. And we'll start to create this bank of ideas that you know to try to solve a problem. Okay, so that's the second one. And if you're watching this at home, feel free to pause the video and just try to figure them out on your own. And then the third one is more mathy. It's matching functions. And this is going to get into what do you remember from Algebra 1. But you've got in this, you have a function like the equation form of it. You've got the table, and then you have these graphs. And your task is to match the table with the equation with the graph, okay? And the reflection questions on this have to do with, is one part of this easier than the other, okay? So is it easier to go after the table? Is it easier to go after the graph? And then to think about how you're doing it. Like, are you using strategies like process of elimination? Are you tackling all the tables first and then doing all the graphs? Or are you trying to go across, with the functions and find the table and the graph to go with it? There's no necessarily like right way or wrong way to do it. It's just about how are you approaching this task, okay? Now, the homework for this has to do with working in teams. So we are going to work in teams, and the questions on the homework, which again, you should be able to access from Teams, and you had my email address earlier in this video. So let me know if you're in the class and you're not able to see it, or you want me to send you a copy of it. But if you had to establish some rules for working in a team, what would they be? There are some tremendous advantages to working in a team, and then there are some disadvantages to working in a team. And how much you like working in a team kind of depends on the play of those things for you. So you do want to check out that homework, and you will need to complete that assignment for a grade. Of course, if you're absent, you do have a window of time to make that up. But if you can get it done earlier, it'll be better because you'll be ready to move on to the next lesson. All right, please let me know if you have any questions. Remember that email address is taylor@duvalschools.org if you have questions about this, what you missed, or what you need to have ready for next class. And I look forward to meeting you.